I've always been a curious, inquisitive person. My motivation to learn about the world stemmed from a deep love to know more about everything. And so, it was no surprise that I grew up with the reputation of being, as the stereotype goes, an A-plus student, top of my class, with perfect attendance. I knew from a very young age that I wanted to work hard and get into a top global university and go on to achieve my dreams from there. So, I did just that. Worked hard during middle school, spent long sleepless nights during high school, and finally took on every position that I could as head prefect, president of the student council, secretary general of the United Nations, you name it. And finally, I graduated as valedictorian with a full IB diploma and a perfect GPA. I then went on to get a scholarship and got accepted into my dream university in London. I had reached the peak of the mountain, or so I thought. A year into university, I made the decision to leave the life that I was living, to leave London and the major I had worked so hard to get into, and to just come home. This came as a shock to myself and to everyone who knew me. Why did you leave? What happened? Are there problems at home? Did anyone force you to come back? And to be honest, every time someone asked me that question, I didn't know how to respond with an answer that was logical enough to convince them. Because in all honesty, I didn't have one. I didn't know I came back. And all I knew was that there was a deep internal feeling within me that told me that something was wrong. Just a deep, gut-wrenching feeling that told me I needed to leave. That same feeling that you get when you start a new job, and on the first day, you feel like something is off about the environment, but you don't know what. That same gut-wrenching feeling that you get when you meet someone new for the first time and feel like something is off. That same feeling that you might get when you simply sit with a group of friends and they start using their usual explicit humor, or gossiping, or making fun of others. And for just a second, you start to question, is this wrong? Is this normal? Is this where I want to be and who I am? Just a small, sudden, deep internal feeling that seems to show up before you even ask for it. As if it knows something about you that you don't know, or as if it knows more about you than even you know about yourself. And so, after making this life-changing decision based on a deep internal feeling that I didn't fully understand, I made it my mission to figure out what happened. What was it that made me so uncomfortable that I was willing to let go of everything I had worked so hard for? On this tiring, yet enlightening quest for answers, I stumbled upon a theory in social psychology which breaks down the human being into a basic system of beliefs and actions. The idea is that at our core, all of us are made up of beliefs, which we gain from the very first moment that we are born, from our first experiences, our first encounters. And these beliefs are our attitudes towards the world, our attitudes towards how we view objects, people, places, the relationships around us, and the world in general. And these beliefs are instilled in us by the most significant people in our lives, our mothers and fathers. And this is exactly why parents and teachers are encouraged to instill sound beliefs at a young age. Psychologists actually believe that by the age of 7, most of our patterns of behavior, our attitudes, and our core beliefs have formed. And so, once these beliefs are instilled within us, they become the anchor to which we tie all of our actions. Every single decision that you make and every action that you take, in one way or another, ties back to the core beliefs that you once formed. Let's take an example. If, as a child, you were taught that smoking is dangerous, as you grow older, naturally, you will avoid smoking. If you were taught as a child that adults know best, adults are wise, you will grow up and learn to respect adults, most likely idolize adults. If, as most of us were, you were taught that education leads to success, you will strive to learn. You will not question why you go to school every day. And if, as I was, you were raised in a religious household, maybe a Muslim household, and were taught that Islam is modesty, you might grow up and choose to put on the hijab. And so, your actions become a representation of your beliefs, who you are as a person and what you believe in at your core. And without even realizing it, you spend every second of the day trying to maintain a balance between who you want to be and who you are, what you believe in, and the actions and decisions that you take. And this balance is easy to maintain at a young age when you're surrounded by family who believe in the same things that you do and make actions easy. But what happens when you go out into the world and everything isn't as simple anymore? What happens, for example, when a child who was taught that smoking is dangerous and adults know best sees an adult smoking for the first time? Do they avoid smoking because they believe that smoking is dangerous? Or do they follow the adult because adults know best? What happens when, for example, education no longer becomes a prerequisite for success? When we see the most amazing and influential people who dropped out of university or got to the top through hustling? What happens when someone such as me, who always believed that Islam is a symbol of modesty and chose to wear the hijab accordingly, travels abroad and meets people who are Muslim, or better Muslims, but not so modest, or modest, but not Muslim? Which actions do we take when our beliefs contradict? And what happens when there's a lack of harmony between what we believe in and the actions that we take? Social psychologist Aaron Festinger describes this exact confusion when there's a lack of harmony between our beliefs and our actions as cognitive dissonance. It is what I once described as that gut-wrenching feeling that you get when something feels off. That it's like an internal alarm that goes off within you, an alarm that only you can hear, understand, and respond to. It is an internal compass that helps restore everything to balance, but only if we take the time to listen to it, try and understand it, and respond to it. So, when we enter the state of cognitive dissonance, which is what I described as discomfort, when our actions and our beliefs don't align, what do? What do social psychologists tell us to do? Well, we have three options. The first is to change our beliefs. The second is to change our perceptions of our actions. And the third is to change our actions. So, let's take the example of a young adult or a teenager who smokes for the first time, assuming that they have the core belief that smoking is dangerous. When they come to pick up the cigarette, the action that they're taking does not align with their belief that smoking is dangerous. So they will enter a state of cognitive dissonance, which brings with it fear, guilt, confusion, discomfort. If we apply this model, the first option this teenager has is to change their beliefs, to tell themselves smoking isn't actually dangerous. It's just air. It's not going to do anything. The second option they have is to change the perception of their action. So they'll tell themselves, okay, I do believe that smoking is dangerous, but the action itself is fine. Everyone around me smokes. I've seen adults smoke, and I haven't seen any real consequences. And these two methods of resolving cognitive dissonance are easy, but they're likely what created generations of chronic smokers. Now, the third option, which I believe to be the most brave, the most difficult, and yet the most rewarding, is to change our actions. To put down the cigarette, knowing that smoking is dangerous, and to restore the balance between belief and action. And 99% of the time, changing your action is the best way to resolve cognitive dissonance. And I had to learn that the hard way. As I've mentioned before, I've always valued education as a top core belief. Family and religion were always equally as important. So, when I finally got into my dream university, reached the peak of the mountain, made my parents proud, everything was going right. But then, a few moments, I would feel some discomfort when I was abroad. In moments, for example, when my professor or classmates presented me with a topic that I didn't agree with, a topic that represented my country or my beliefs or my idea of freedom or my religion in a way that I didn't accept or didn't agree with, I felt dissonance. And in moments when I was homesick and just wanted to call my parents and be close to home, I felt dissonance. And the only way that I thought I could resolve this dissonance was to change my belief. So, when someone presented me with a topic that I didn't agree with or imposed their opinion on me, I told myself, it's fine. We're in the 21st century. Be open-minded. Everyone can say absolutely anything with no consequences. And when I felt homesick and wanted to call home, I told myself, you're an adult now. You don't owe or need anything from your parents. Education is a priority. Stick it through. And to be honest, changing my beliefs allowed me to continue where I was for a while. But I wasn't happy or fulfilled. And at many points, I would ask myself, why am I even here? What am I doing? Who am I, if not the young woman who stands up for what she believes in and sees the world with curious eyes and a love for learning? Who am I, if not the loving daughter, sibling, and friend who shows up every time? Who am I, if not the young Muslim woman who chooses to wear her modesty and chooses to wear it proudly? And so, I grabbed an old notebook and a piece of paper, and I asked myself, what matters to me? If everyone disappeared, what would I choose? In other words, what are my core beliefs, and who do I want to be as a person? I found myself listing down the names of my friends and family members first, then education, truth, religion. I wanted to help people, I wanted the challenge, and I wanted to give back to the community. And so, once I brushed the dust off of my core and reminded myself of my core beliefs, it was time to align my actions. Where's my family? Back home. So that's where I should be. The major and the university I'm studying at is not fulfilling with regards to the challenge that I'm searching for. I don't feel as if I'm helping people or giving back. And the only place that I know I can get that is in medicine. And so, overnight, I booked a flight, spent an entire summer taking courses, doing applications, taking exams, to get to where I am today. A medical student who is close to home, close to her religion and friends. But more importantly, a young woman who is happy and is contributing to the world in a way that is true to herself. I still get asked to this day, why did you choose medicine? Why did you leave London? And while people expect me to claim that it was always my dream to become a doctor, I answer honestly and say, I had a deep, gut-wrenching internal feeling that told me I should leave. I was in a state of cognitive dissonance, and my efforts to resolve it brought me to a place I never thought I would be. And so, the next time you sit with a group of friends or in a room and you get that feeling, you're allowed to sit with it, listen to it, reflect on it, maybe even excuse yourself from the room. The next time you start a new job or study a certain major, you're allowed to question how right it is for you, even when others tell you it's too late. Because remember, to always resolve your dissonance, to ask yourself, who am I? What do I believe in? Who do I want to be? And how do I get there? And you'll find all the answers within yourself. Thank you.